top landing here with Arava, and it's like 6 o'clock. I launched. I did literally 0 turns until I got to go. Yeah, so I flew like 25 Ks with no turns, because some days the valley, you know, it's just lifting off and it's just working. You launch and you just go up and you're like, I don't think I need to turn, and we didn't.
That's what I see.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, this big river that comes out here is the Ryan, and there's the Camel's Hump on the corner. That's what they use for a lot of the tasks. If you go to the Nationals, they'll undoubtedly have some stuff around the Camel's Hump, because it forces some valley crossings. With competitions, they're interested in making it a bit more challenging, so little short valley crossings can split things up a little bit. And the Ryan River goes way up here, and actually I followed it up to about here. The road, as far as I know, only goes to about here, so you're totally foobarred if you land up there. But people will fly up to here. I think people have gone about as far as here in the Ryan. And yeah, so the big crossing, like this is, who was saying they'd done the 50K and they wanted to break out? Richard, right? So yeah, from GOAT, you know, reasonably high, 2,500 meters, you don't have to be in orbit. But the thing to be careful about here, and this is a classic place for what we call canyon suck, right? Because you have a north-south thing here, right? The Hurley Pass, and you're likely to get a bit of wind through there, unless you're there really early in the day or a day with very light winds. And so what happens here is when you cross from GOAT, what I recommend is, you see how low angle, there isn't a lot of contours showing up there? That's quite low angle. I just say keep flying, right? Because if you stop at the first little blip you get to, you'll probably thermal back into the canyon. Like, oh, and then you'll straighten up and you'll glide forward and you realize you're at the same place you were before, right? So when you're thermally in windy conditions, that's one of the real things that it's actually, Woodside's good for this, because when you're thermally in Woodside, especially later in the year, and it's getting kind of a bit windblown, like you're climbing out and you're like, is this actually going to help me? And it's a really good thing to test. Like climb out, try to pick the best thermal, climb out, and then glide back out and see if you're any higher than where you were where you left, right? Because that tells you the thermal was actually a real winner. If it's just drifting with the wind and you come back and you're almost lower, that's when, you know, people can get in trouble with that if they're not using their speed bar or if it's too windy.
No, but that's how I crashed at Woodruff.
Yeah.
I was doing the steps 3 times and finally I couldn't make it.
Yeah.
And I fell behind the mountain in Big Rock and everything went against me.
Like, it's a good thing to practice, but you have to be really careful, because if the wind picks up when you're doing these and it's getting worse thermal quality and more wind, you can get in trouble. Like it's happened to Woodside a couple times that people are climbing and then we've had to get on the radio go over the back. Right? Like if you turn around and you realize, wow, I'm in sinking headwind and I can't make it, you know, your safest option may be just to go over the back at that point, not just push into it and then land in the trees, or get rotored before that happens. So here, when you leave Goat Peak, you generally arrive here, and both me and Peter usually glide to somewhere like here or here. There's some rocks sticking out of the forest here. And then this starts getting steeper and the thermals become a lot less affected by the suction from this valley, and they go up more straight and vertical, right? And usually you can survive here. Like sometimes the climbs are okay, but I would say anytime I pass someone here, unless they're climbing in 3 meters or more, I'll go and find something better, and when I climb up, I'll be ahead of them. They'll still be coming and I'm already at their height. And if this was a competition, you just dusted them, right? And competition, like, I would encourage people to do some light competition, because it does really teach you this stuff. You see it firsthand, because you're like, okay, I didn't like that thermal and I glided on. Do I win or do I lose because of that, right? And you'll see that guy who's climbing, and like I'm always watching, right? And I get to the next one, you climb up and you, oh, I'm ahead of him now. Okay, so that was a good call in this situation. And why was it? Oh, he's really drifted back. And even for an XC pilot, like, you know, competition pilot especially, but observation is key, you know? And like watching everyone around you, like I'm almost always watching like every pilot I can, you know? Like when we're on launch, I'll be like, how many people are there here? What color are their wings? Like I rarely don't know where everyone is. And it's partly just safety, but it's also like I want to know how they're doing, right? Like if I saw someone drifting past the South Point, did that work for them, you know? So And yeah, like once you get out to here, this is actually Zora, and there's Mount Sampson behind it. And when you get up here, you don't. I don't think I've actually been back to Sampson. It's a fair ways back. I just get really high at Zora, done it across North Creek, and then once again, this is a place where you arrive where you can see it's not all that brilliant looking. So you push on a little bit and then hopefully climb up here when it starts getting a bit steeper and a bit more shooty and a bit more open rock. And you're about like, this is 35 Ks from launch, you're getting into the 40K zone. Getting past Spindrift is always a bit of a beating, right? It just seems that the way the valley and the way the range flow works here is that there's usually a little bit of southwest or west wind here. And so I try to get as high as I can before I get right to Zora, before this little bowl, or not Zora, but Spindrift. I try to get high here, and then ideally just glide over top of this stuff. Going around the front of Spindrift with all, you see how featured and how many gullies there are? Gliding along any face like that with a crosswind, it's a recipe for getting rotored, right? And it probably won't be rotor that will destroy you unless it's a really windy day, but it will be unpleasant flying and slow. If you can glide above that, then usually you won't get the sink and you'll get the lift, right? And then once you're here, you're about the 50K mark. If you turn around and make it back to Pemberton, you've done 100K on return. To go a little further, it's not actually that tricky. Actually, getting around Spindrift is actually harder. Mike, have you been to Athelstan?
No.
So that's the pumice mine over here. It's a big, beautiful mountain. Mount Athelstan here. That's gorgeous. And it works like a train. It's strong.
It's more into the sun.
Yeah, it's more into the sun. Yeah, you're looking at the face angles, and it's a big exposed mountain, and yeah, you can usually get like the highest of the flight here. Yeah, that crossing past Athelstan, I think this is Slough Creek and that's Pebble Creek. This is low angle, and like the roads stop here.